Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna get started. Welcome to another Sunday Market Blitz. We normally started off looking at some news for the week. So we're gonna take a look at Forex Factory because this is the site that we use for TFT for anyone that's trading on some of the funded accounts. You gotta be mindful of these red news events. So we like to just kick it off, take a look at some news for the week. There's actually not much. There's not actually or I guess USD, Tuesday is the big day with the midterm elections. So this is kind of gonna mess up the whole entire week. But there's not many folders. We got obviously the elections. We've got this AUD news, and then Thursday we've got CPI news, and then CAD, GBP, and then on Friday we've got this consumer sentiment news coming out. So there's gonna be a lot of volatility because whichever way the elections go, I mean, it's just gonna cause volatility in the markets. So we'll continue to monitor and kind of see how that does affect things. If we can just look as to how things are forecasted right now, at least for the CPI right now, we could see last month when this came in, it was forecasted, actually beat the forecast, and it beat the forecast the month before. So it's been positive the last 2 months in a row for this one, month over month, and then year over year right here, we could see it's also been positive the last 2 months in a row. So we'll see if that continues to come in and be positive. And then, yeah, other than that, I mean, Nick, do you have anything to say on the news?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna, approach it how we normally do. Some of this stuff will have more impact than others. The only thing we can really do is make ourselves aware of it and then, play it as it lies, similar to last week. But yeah, we'll cover it. So, I mean, our approach is pretty much the same, right? We just go through our analysis, see what we'd like to look for, and then take it from there. So I guess this is a good time to transition over and we'll start looking at some charts.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
All right,
if
I'm
you
gonna show
guys if you guys haven't looked at Forex Factory, you could see if you click in this little folder, you can read more in depth. We're not going to get into it right now, but if you do want to, you can do that. So I'm gonna pass it over to Nick. He's gonna share. He'll run through about 6 pairs for you guys, and then when Nick's done, I'll share my pairs. Someone mentioned the giveaway, so if you want to participate, just post on your IG story, tag the funded trader, tag Forex League, just show that you're on the session, and then you'll be in on the giveaway.
Easy enough to qualify, guys. It can be any length too. It doesn't have to be that long, 5-10 seconds, whatever. So let's transition over to the charts, right? And I'm going to take you guys through my method. It's the same method pretty much on every single pair. And it starts out on the daily time frame where I like to assess the overall trend. That's all we need. I'm going to clear up the drawing tools so it looks like a blank chart. Just going to assess the overall trend, drop to the 4-hour, and give you guys, 1 or 2 scenarios depending on price action. And then I'll explain that as well. So here on DXY, we don't actually trade this. This is just the dollar, just showing us the dollar strength. And we analyze this because it has such an impact on the market. It makes up for like 80% of all trade. So once you see something pretty dramatic happening on the dollar, you'll see that on a lot of the major pairs, and you'll see that movement kind of trickle throughout the market. So it's kind of important to just make yourself aware of the dollar being super bullish or super bearish. And then you could use that more or less as an indicator and use it to help influence your decisions on other pairs. You don't want to use this in a way where you're like comparing a single candle on DXY and then comparing it over to AU, right? You don't want to use it that way. It's more just a general directional tool, the way that we're applying it. Okay, so overall, we're very bullish, and we can identify that through characteristics of a bullish trend, which are higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, and so on and so on. So very clearly, this has been bullish for quite a while. We've actually been seeing this rally in a pretty steep curve all the way back since here, really. Started back in June 2021, really started taking off here in February of this year. Right, and now we're at this high, 112. We're up in the 112 area, which is historically a pretty high point. Right, we can zoom out a little bit and just show you guys that the last couple times we were here was back in 2001, 2002, and then before that, we were back in the 80s. So it's been a while since we've been up at these highs, but obviously that's influenced by, market events and market conditions that we've been seeing. So with that trend in mind, bullish, we can go to the 4-hour and make more sense as to what the price action for this week would look like. right? So the way I trade, the 4-hour time frame highlights the movement for the week to bet the best for me, right? So if I'm seeing a 4-hour bearish trend and we have some room to fall, it's probably going to sustain that 4-hour bearish trend for the week. And then I'll, restart on the weekend, reanalyze, and then consider new scenarios. Okay, so here on the 4-hour, it's looking more bearish as we've been, moving lower. We're getting all these lower highs. And we have made a couple attempts to break this key support right here, 110.7, which on the daily is our higher low. So, right, there's a structure forming higher low. As long as we're above this, we're bullish. If we start breaking below and seeing structure below that, it's looking more bearish. So 110.7 is a really key zone for the dollar. Now, last week we did see this kind of plummet, right? Huge drop from, this mid zone here, but still gave us a slower high in line with this trend line. So very much bearish from last week. Will this sustain? Will it continue? Will it give a structure? That's what we're going to look for. So in the best case scenario, price action pulls back a little bit, rejects 112, and then starts giving us some bearish variations, right? So rejects pretty hard, starts heading lower, and then we'll start looking towards 110.7, look for reactions from there, ultimately down to the next support level. Okay, so that's what the most likely is. That's what this chart is showing us is the most likely. Now, if we are to consider DXY bullish again, we really need to see a break above 112, similar to what we saw over here. Price action gets above, it started ranging here. That would be the start of us changing our bias on DXY back to bullish. Okay, so that'd be a break above, nice structure above, and then we have pretty much all the confidence in the world saying that this is going to push up to 113.5. And then we'll reanalyze, apply the same process, and then take it from there. So that's DXY this week. Definitely closer to just continuing bearish. So we're going to use that info over on our other tradable pairs like AU. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. Zoom out a little bit, clear up all the drawing tools, and just assess the trend, right? So what's the daily been doing? It's been moving lower, and we can identify that through characteristics of a bearish trend. Lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, so on and so on. So very much bearish. We are pretty low. We're close to 0.63. So let's drop to the 4-hour with this in mind and see what we got for this week. Okay, so let's just follow price action. It's the easier way to kind of follow this story here. Price action was following. We hit a low, started consolidating, gained some more momentum, pushed lower. We consolidated at this low. Then we saw a change of trend on the 4-hour, right? So we broke above. We got our first higher high, got a higher low to confirm the break. Not the cleanest, right? It didn't close right at the top of this zone. It fell a little bit below, not the cleanest, but still counts. Started pushing up from there. We saw a high at 0.655, which is kind of the daily zone that's holding this bearish. So we were rejected from there, broke back below 0.64, and now we've just been getting this crazy volume, right? So where is it going from here? Since we reversed from this point, it's been looking more bearish, right? We started getting lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. Now we're back at this lower high area. So what happens now is very key. Okay, so we need to reverse now to maintain the bearish trend. If it does reverse, we're not looking to, enter immediately on the first engulfing we see or anything. We can already identify we saw a gap. So something like this would be ideal, where price action spends a little bit of time in this area. It'll consolidate, bounce a couple levels, and then give us some strong bearish variations, something that can convince us, give us confidence when looking at this chart. And we could say it'll go lower. It'll start falling lower, right? So this is the first thing we need to see. Price action curve out, spend a little bit of time here, start pushing lower. And then as we're breaking support levels, we'll be constantly looking for lower highs on the retest to then enter in other potential trades. And this is pretty valid all the way down towards 0.624, right? If it keeps breaking and retesting, those are all potential scenarios that you could short. Okay, so this is probably the safest option and really the only thing that's present on the chart, because if I were to offer a bullish scenario comfortably, we would need to break above 0.655, right? So I'm not going to buy anything off of 0.64 into this zone. It's a little too risky. Doesn't really prove that it's bullish or anything, right? No structure broken. It's just it would just be a rally at that point. No clear indication to buy it. Where this would be much more clear, where we break a significant level, daily zone, can form structure above. And if we do get the higher low, that says to us, all right, price action has a ton of energy behind it, where it broke through a massive level, held above, and then, followed through from there. So that would be ideal to change our bias from bearish to bullish. But until that happens, based on the current price action, there's just no long scenario here right now. Okay. At least swing position. If you're on the lower time frame, I'm sure you could, mark something up, but based on swing trading, this time frame, there's really no long scenario that's safe. Okay. That's AU. Let's move over to AJ. This one's looking a little more clear because it's a range, but we'll get to that in a second. Let's not jump the gun. Let's stick to our strategy, stick to our method, zoom out a little bit, clear up the chart. And what are we doing on this time frame, guys? Right? We're on the daily. All we want to do is assess the trend. Then we're going to drop down. So is this a bullish trend? Price action seems to be moving up, and we can identify higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, and so on. So very much bullish. Not the steepest chart. We could see we're curving out now. So this is where that 4-hour time frame is going to come in. Give us a little more insight. So let's drop to the 4-hour, bring the tools back on, square up the chart. All right, so here we are. So we've been moving lower, right? Very similar to AU. We pushed lower, hit a low, started consolidating, gained some more momentum, pushed to a new low, and then reversed from there. So we pushed up, got a higher low, pushed up again, got a higher high, higher low, right at 93.75. And since then, we've actually been struggling to break either zone. So notice how choppy this is, guys. This isn't a great example of price action. All these wicks, large candles, a little bit of gap, attempted breaks, bad follow through. It's a mess, right? Same thing here, attempted break. So the easiest way to approach this chart is to look at it more as a range, right? Where is price action respecting? Where is it struggling to break? Where is it throwing fakes and so on? So we could see right at 94.75, we're failing to break above that, but we have rejected it and respected it in the past. So this is really the zone that we want to keep our eyes on as resistance. And then same for support. Lots of rejection as support off 93.75. And then we had one disrespect here where it faked, right, and failed to give us a lower high below. So this is our support zone. So approaching this chart, we need to see a confirmed higher low above in order to consider it long, or we need that confirmed lower high below to consider it short. So what we failed to get here on both attempts, and then what we failed to get here, right? Pretty straightforward. We just need that conviction and confidence of new structure, new trend formation. So yeah, here we are. Ranges are pretty simple. The only problem that they present is sometimes you have to be really patient, right? You just have to wait for it to play out. Now you're always, open to the option of trading the range, but eventually it's going to break. So if that's involved in your strategy, good for you. I wouldn't recommend personally trading ranges unless it was a really high volume one, where you can get really clear setups. But for me, I don't really I'm not identifying any trends between these two ranges. So I can't, offer you guys anything in between. Just wait for the break. It'll be a better trade. And I have these marked up, so let's go over them real quick. We'd be risking 35, looking to get 100, leaves us at a 2.86 risk reward, which isn't bad at all. If you're risking 1%, you're getting 2.86 back. That's phenomenal, right? My personal rule is I won't take anything less than a 2-to-1. So risking 1%, need to get 2% back at least. Okay, if that's not there, I won't even consider a trade scenario. But the short scenario here is just over 2-to-1, so we're good there as well. All right, so that's AJ. We'll see how this one plays out. I'm not liking these early market gaps, or these market open gaps. Right, that's never good. You just need to wait at that point and see. All right, so let's move over to UJ. UJ, let's clear this up. Overall, we're on the daily time frame here. Overall, it's looking bullish. Characteristics of a bullish trend. What are they, guys? Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. Pretty steep chart. But I mean, we've been covering this for a while, so you guys, for the most part, should know how bullish UJ has been. Crazy, crazy volume since March. And just to give you guys some perspective, UJ, we'll go to body closure here, has pushed up 30%. 30% since March. That's insane for a Forex pair. That's like a crypto percentage. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's nuts. Less than a year, 226 days, 30% movement. Definitely not sustainable. We know this, but we can only really deal with what we see, right? So overall, we're bullish. Let's go to the 4-hour. Is this chart going to reverse? What's it going to do? Right, so here's the 4-hour. Huge rally all through October, really, like halfway through October to the end of it. Crazy, crazy rally. And then we reversed pretty hard from 150. Look at this drop. That candle's gigantic. And then we started forming this kind of like descending triangle. We already disrespected it, so it's kind of losing its weight. But yeah, see it pushed through here. You know, obviously there's a lot of rejection from this zone, so that's why I kind of drew this in here. And then we could see lower high after lower high. So pretty much a descending triangle. Either way, it's representing consolidation, and we need to see this consolidation break or, you know, end in some way for us to, you know, understand where it's going to go next. So I did draw in a short scenario because that's what this pattern is suggesting at the moment. And all we need to see is the next lower high, good conviction, breaking the pattern to the downside, and then we could potentially get some short scenarios in. Remember, it's got to be clear price action. I'm not interested in entering on a gigantic candle that just skews your risk to reward. Literally just throw the trade out the window at that point. You need something really clear, as close to normal market conditions as possible. I know that's kind of hard to request from UJ at the moment because of how dramatic it's been moving, but you know, that's where the safest trades are. You want clear, normal market conditions, normal price action, and then you'll get some decent trades. So let's say this does play out. We're looking at about a 3-to-1, looking to target about 300 pips, risking around 100. Okay. Now, I wouldn't necessarily offer a long scenario on this, but the first step for us considering this bullish again would be really a break of this, right? This lower high here. So let me just draw this in. And again, this is the first step to considering this bullish. I wouldn't take a long scenario here just because this 150 zone is here, but for the sake of analysis, I'm going to show you guys anyway. This is what would need to happen for us to change our bias and say, all right, UJ is no way this is bearish. It's looking, you know, more bullish, probably going to continue higher. This would need to happen when we push above, break the lower high, confirm a higher low above, followed by, you know, strong bullish variations, similar to what we saw in this rally here. All right, so yeah, UJ has been at the bottom of my watch list. I was kind of happy just to, you know, have a somewhat of a decent setup or potential setup to present to you guys this week. But you know, we're still going to have to do a little bit of waiting on this one before we can clearly make a decision. All right, any questions on this, guys? Just drop in chat or on any of the pairs that I'm covering, and I'll get to them, or Angela will. But yeah, let's move over to EJ. Daily time frame, guys, same thing. Zoom out, clear up the chart, and assess the trend. All right, this chart's moving upward. We can see that we've been getting higher highs, higher lows. We did have a higher high here, well, higher high, higher low, match of the high, and then we broke the higher low. So we were bearish for a short portion here, short amount of time from July 22 to August 22. And then we consolidated, got the next lower low, lower high, then we broke it here and went back to bullish at this point. Started getting higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, and so on. So we went back to bullish at that point. We could see right from here, we're close to the 146 zone. So what do you say we drop to the 4-hour, take a look, and see what kind of, you know, scenarios we could spot. All right, so EJ here spent a good amount of time consolidating at this high, bouncing off 148 area. We spent, how long is this? 2 weeks consolidating. And that's kind of on par for EJ. You know, EJ likes to spend a lot of time. It'll commit for like a couple weeks to whatever it decides to do. So if it does go bullish, it'll rally for a while. And I could show you actually through some proof here. It'll rally for a while. So about 20 days there, then it'll consolidate for a while, as we just covered 2 weeks there, and so on and so on. So whatever EJ does, it really commits to it. It'll stay in that move for a while. So that's one characteristic of EJ that's super important. So this could be the start of a new bearish trend, right? We saw a break of 146.25, which was the support of this consolidation here, trickled down towards 144 support. Now it looks like it's coming back for the pullback, where we're looking for a confirmed lower high. And this is a classic break and retest, guys. We've covered this a bunch of times. I know you guys have seen this example, right, where I'll draw the range, or Angela will draw the range. We'll get the low, and then we're looking for, okay, it's saved, thankfully. Why is it doing that? Hold on one second, guys. Might be my other computer. But anyway, classic break and retest, right? Where we have the range, we see the low, look for the lower high, and then play it lower from there. So that is the start of a new trend. Very classic, one of our favorite setups. So that's what this is right here, no different. Looking for reactions at 146.25. This short scenario would be perfect if we saw some rejection, maybe an evening star, bearish variation, or a good engulfing. Would enter short on that, targeting 160, risking about 50, just over a 3-to-1 risk to reward. Not bad at all. Risking 1%, getting 3.2 back. Pretty nice. Now, if this fails to play out and this bullish volume sticks, just look for price action to get over this 146.25 zone, enter back into the range, look for a confirmed higher low, and then you could have a long scenario here, targeting back up to 148. Okay, now I did say that I don't trade ranges, but in this particular scenario, on a re-entrance into a range, you can take that scenario and just target resistance and then leave it, right? Because if it continues to range after that, you want to leave it, wait for the breakout. This I'll consider because on this pullback, this is going to take so much energy to break back above, to totally disregard this drop, to then give a structure and then continue to push above. That's just like 10 out of 10 confidence. Like it's going to push up at that point. It took so much energy for that to then disrespect the same level and then come right back down. Doesn't happen too often. So I would consider this if we did get a really clear setup from price action. Okay. And this one is also a 3-to-2. So looking to get 160, risking about 50 as well. So either way this goes, we should have a pretty good setup. I mean, there are a few things this week that could kind of blow this out and ruin the trade, like heightened volume. If the candle's too big, by the time it reverses, let's say, it's going to blow your risk reward out of the water, right? Because if you're entering down here on a single candle, you're now below a 1-to-1, which is crap, right? So that's one way it could get ruined. We're aware that is possible this week, so we just have to consider that, right, in our analysis and what we're looking at, and play it safe, and really look for what we're trained to do: clear price action, really decent volume, not too much, not too little, but really clear conviction and price action. Okay, that's EJ. I got one more for you guys, which is gold. I know somebody in here, a few of you guys are waiting on this one. So here it is. Let's jump to the daily real quick. Where'd my mouse go? There it is. All right. Overall daily time frame, guys, what has gold been doing? And I know I've been saying this pretty much every week, but since we broke this 1930 zone, it's been bearish. Or 1920, 1930 zone. Right after all this consolidation, we had this failed attempt to push higher. Completely failed there. Took out this low, this consolidation, and we've been bearish ever since. Lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, and so on. Now, one thing to note, it looks like we're kind of curving out now. We're right at 1620, and we've already bounced off it 3 times. So we definitely got to drop down, get a closer look, and see what's going on. All right, so here's the 4-hour. Let's zoom out a little bit, and then just see what price action's been doing. So we entered over here into this zone after a break of 1675. Cool, we consolidated a little bit, headed lower from there. Got this huge rally, but what does this rally mean, right? There's really no structure above 1675, and that's what we really needed to see to confirm this, as bullish again. But it let us down, it just pushed up, gave us a double top, giant M pattern, whatever you want to call it. Came right back through 1675, and now it's been forming this kind of like expanding pattern where we're getting all these lower lows, and then we keep bouncing back toward resistance at 1675. Okay, now we've also touched 1630 quite a few times. So this automatically becomes our target of interest, right? I'm not going to feel safe immediately targeting 1600 because we've rejected so many times in the past. So that is at most, my max target. And then once we get down here, we'll reanalyze and so on. So this pattern still seems intact. 1675 is still holding. But for us to consider short scenarios, we would really need to see some sort of consolidation now. Maybe it bounced a few times. I wouldn't mind that. This is a good example of consolidation that we'd like to see. So is this over here. Not too bad. And then following that, we need bearish conviction. right, to sway us and convince us that this is going to stay bearish. And then we'll look for lower highs all the way down as we continue to break support levels. I've gone ahead and marked up 2 trades here. One up here, if you were to enter on, again, some really clear price action, and then you can kind of scale this into another trade where we'd be looking for lower highs below 1660, ultimately targeting down towards 1630. Okay, pretty straightforward, not too bad, but you just want to see the right price action, right? If this just starts dumping now, we're not going to short that. That's not clear price action, right? You want to see a trend present itself here on the 4-hour, and you want it to be respected. So decent sized candles, clear price action to the downside. That's what we're interested in. All right. So, but let's consider the opposite, right? We're traders. We want to stay open-minded. We're not marrying trades. I'm not marrying a bearish bias here. You know, I want to just see what's possible and consider the opposite as well. So here's the bullish scenario. This is what would need to happen for us to say, all right, gold is definitely looking more bullish. We can start considering long scenarios because, you know, we're seeing that structure above key zones. So price action would need to break above 1675 in a significant way, right? Because if we were to throw a fib on this, you know, it starts down here, right? From the rally. If we formed a higher high up here, this is where conviction started. We would need then, you know, at least the 38.2 to be hit, which puts us pretty close to 1675. But, you know, that's kind of the problem with the volume is once you have this much volume, if you're going to break a zone, it has to really do it in a dramatic way to then be able to form structure. Okay. So this would need to happen, has to blow the top off the zone, come back, give us good confirmation, and then continue higher from there. That would pretty much be the only scenario where I switch my bias from bearish to bullish, given the current price action that we can see. Okay, but I mean, we've struggled quite a bit at 1675, so I still have some confidence that we'll, you know, maybe hang around this level and then start to push lower again. But yeah, so that's gold. And these are dropped in Telegram and Discord. They're active charts, as you guys know. If you're familiar with that trading view feature, you can kind of open this chart up, hit the play button, and see, you know, how they played out for both Angelo and, you know, my analyses. But I'm going to do a quick recap because that's I'm wrapping it up now. I covered all these pairs for you guys. Covered DXY, AU, AJ, UJ, EJ, and gold. Okay, tons of gaps on these JPY pairs. So just be aware of that. Yeah, huge gaps. Crazy stuff. But yeah, I'm going to pass off to Angelo and see what she's looking at.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to hop on, share my chart. Again, guys, if you want to enter in on the giveaway, we're giving away a TFT account. Just post on your IG story, tag the funded trader, tag Forex League on there in order to enter. Let me know if you see my screen, Nick.
You bet. Good to go.
We're good. All right. We're gonna start with DXY. So this is what we were looking at going into last week. We were basically looking for price to either consolidate at the support level or move up. As you can see, we ended up moving up last week about 2%, and then we came down with this huge correction right at the end of the week. So let's just go ahead and zoom out. Let's just start on a higher time frame here and just take things one time frame at a time. So always like to start on the weekly time frame, just get an overall picture. Where are we currently at right now? I have my weekly resistance level marked down right here. If it were to go back, we can see where this is based off of. We had resistance here, support here, basically just a liquidity zone that previously showed a lot of rejection to either side. So now we're just trying to take plays that are off of this level. If we zoom in a little bit more, we can see recently what's been happening here is we had a break of support on the weekly time frame, came down, found support at this previous higher high right here at about 109, 110 level, and then price hit here, rejected, and then we had this spinning top candle or just this doji candle at the bottom here, which is just showing us that price is completely stopping in this area. It's looking to then reverse and retrace to the upside. As we work our way down to a lower time frame, we work our way down to the 4-hour time frame and kind of zoom out. This is all that weekly price action. And if we zoom in even a little bit more, we'll just come back to the weekly, come back on here. So looking at the 4-hour, obviously the end of last week, there was just this huge move to the downside, almost nearly 2%, where it just lost right before the end of the week. So buyers were definitely in control throughout the entire week. And then boom, we shot down to the downside. And I believe we had NFP at the end of last week. So that could have been what actually could have been what actually moved the index down. So let's go ahead and bring this forward. It looks like they actually just did a little cool update. So TradingView's got the update coming. So looking at where we are now, considering we lost all of this, momentum to the upside and now moved below our support level, we're going to be looking for potential sells on this one as this thing comes back up and retest this red zone. I'm personally not taking any buys until we get back above this red zone right here. We're right here hovering under this level of support. So we broke the support level right here, this previous higher low that had formed. Now we're retesting that area. So price could either be doing one of two things right now. Could reject from where we're currently at and just move directly to the downside pretty much, or it could come back up, back into our resistance level right here, find some rejection, move to the downside, potentially form some sort of head and shoulders pattern. If we come in here, we're looking for something like this. This would be the right shoulder. Not the best just because the right, it looks like the right is actually lower, so it wouldn't actually be a head and shoulders pattern, so we'll just take that off. But yeah, momentum definitely a bit bearish on this one, at least on the 4-hour time frame. I know the weekly has been bullish overall, but like I said, I'm personally not trying to take buys on this unless we break above this significant resistance area right here, and then we start to see price action where it actually starts to form some uptrend structure to the upside. So gonna wait on this. Again, this is the dollar index, and this is important for us because as we're going to start to look at all these other pairs, looking at the dollar index, the direction of the dollar is going to correlate with everything else. So if we basically are assuming that the dollar is going to continue to lose value this week, we should be looking for NZD USD to appreciate, UCAD to go down, GU to go up, right? These pairs that are correlated very closely with the dollar. So that being said, considering I feel as though it's going to continue to depreciate, let's go over to NZD USD. Let's see if this correlates at all with this. This was last week. So on the call, we had gone over taking a buy on NZD USD pretty much right from this area. So we had called it out on the call, and this thing went really crazy. So came up, ended up about 1,600 pips or 160 pips up, and then this thing ended up moving down all the way below the entry and then back up. At this point now, we had that rally at the end of the week with it correlating with the dollar just kind of shitting the bed. As you see, the dollar lost 2% or 1.7%. NZD USD moved up 3%. So this thing is definitely correlated at this point. If you were in this trade, I would just continue to hold this to the upside. If you were not in this trade, let's just go ahead and take all these things off. Let's just go back up to the weekly time frame. Let's take a look as to where we're at. So we have this major resistance area right here at about 0.59. So if we zoom out a little bit, previously, this is a support level, which is significant. And I say that because price broke above it, found support, and then moved up significantly. So it's telling me that this is a price where a lot of buyers with conviction bought in this area. There's a lot of liquidity, which drove the market to the upside. Call it whatever you want, but that's just the facts of what it is. And then going left, so if we continue to look left, we can see here resistance, resistance, resistance right there, support, support. So this is obviously a significant area in the market right here. So as price moves up into that red zone, I'm going to be looking for rejection. until it gets into that area, I'm simply just going to continue to look for buying opportunities on this one. So the areas at which I would be looking for buying opportunities on this, I'm just going to mark them down. We have this was a previous high point that was now broken. We're obviously hovering right around this area right now. So I would be looking to actually take buy positions above anything above this support area right there. I'd be looking to take buy positions. So something like this, if price ends up pushing below this area right here, so we just start retracing even lower, this would be the next potential area that I'd be looking for buys. But clearly I'm just in a buyer's bias on this one right here. So we have scenario number one, scenario number two. Until we get up into this red zone, I'm personally not trying to look for sells. This thing clearly is in an uptrend going to the upside, as you guys can see right here. So unless we get something crazy where price completely starts to break the trend and move to the downside, something like this, only then would I start to look for selling opportunities until, or other than if we do come up and get into this red zone right here, then we can start to look for potential like rejection and then reversals and stuff like that, just because of how significant that area is going to be. So be on the lookout. NZD USD, this area, I wouldn't buy it right now, not a good play, but if it does consolidate, I'd buy it. And then this next area right here, this could be a really good area to actually take buys on NZD USD. So next, let's go to USD CAD. Let's bump up to the weekly. Well, let's actually look last week how things played out. So last week, we got a bit roasted on this one. So we had two ideas last week. It was basically take sells here and take sells here. Looking at this, so this is about right where we were on the call. Let's see. We got this. All right, so this is pretty much where we were on the call last week. Friday, Sunday, so like right in this area. So as we were breaking this down, we were just looking like, all right, 4-hour trend is clearly bearish coming up to the weekly time frame. Overall, you know, obviously very bullish, but it had rejected key area, and we're starting to see, you know, a reversal break of support here. So we're starting to shift from an uptrend to a downtrend, at least at the top right there. And just that 4-hour price action just very clearly bearish. Did have a minor break of resistance here, but basically I was looking to take sells here or here. As the week started to play out, you see all this news that was going on, PMI news. Then we have this employment change, Fed interest rate, getting the hike up. And then Friday, see if my mouse will work. We had non-farm payrolls that came in, which obviously beat the forecast. So this was just a week filled with news. We had this initial retracement. So price came up, went against us, and then we actually came into profit, and then it got blown past where we were anticipating price to go. So we came all the way up, and then look what happens when we come into the red zone. And this is why I mark these red zones on pretty much every pair, is on the weekly. You know, I know that this area is a very significant zone for us to be monitoring based on how on the weekly time frame it has reacted to this in the past, right? So we've had some crazy rejection here where price moved down really significantly. Some rejection here, not exactly. I wouldn't say that's anything too crazy. But looking back, we had a break, support, move to the upside. Right there, if we continue to go back, we have resistance here. We had resistance right there, and then ton of resistance along this area, ton of support. Look how it moved all the way up that area. So definitely a strong zone where there's, again, a ton of orders sitting, ton of liquidity. And now we can see right now how this is playing out in this zone is we came up here really strong, right, all the way at this high point, and then boom, tried to break through, bearish engulfing, and now we just grab this again. So price on this one is going to most likely continue to go to the downside now that we grabbed this last kind of liquidity grab right here. Now, where should we actually try to be getting in on this? There's many ways that you can go about drawing where your next potential zone is. The fact of the matter is price needs to form some sort of bottom right now, right? It'd be nice if price right now formed support, had a bullish engulfing, started to retrace back to the upside. This would be a very nice level to actually get in at. This 38.2, it lines up with multiple different tools here. We obviously have this demand zone, we have this trend line, we have 38.2, right? So when you're drawing areas to enter, and I don't put all these tools on here at this point often because there's just no point of cluttering up the chart, but you can just see this is definitely a strong area to be entering in based on all of these different types of TA that you can use to justify it. And then beyond there, if you wanted to take a strong trade, you'd be looking for what is your next level, right? So we have support here, we had resistance here, we have 61.8. So there's 2 confluences there, there's 3 confluences here. There's a bunch of different confluences all the way up. If it does manage to make it all the way back up into kind of this red zone area, there are a lot more confluences up here. There's this supply zone, there's the weekly resistance level, there's the trend line, right? So there's a ton of confluence up there if it doesn't make it all the way, but it's not even close there. So we're not even going to think of price coming up there. So this is our first potential area to take a trade on USD CAD, looking for a slight pullback. So we're looking for the dollar to actually appreciate a little bit against the Canadian dollar. And then once this thing actually does make a move back to the upside and we hit a resistance level, we'll then look for that first lower high. And that's always where we're trying to take a trade. So UCAD trade lined up, nothing entering at the moment, but definitely trade lined up. We had GU, so we didn't take any trades on GU last week, but we actually mapped this out pretty cleanly. So looking at, this is when we were on the call about right here. So we were on the call last week and we pretty much said that in order for us to take a trade on GU, right, this thing is clearly was bullish, right? It was bullish at least on the 4-hour time frame. Coming up to the weekly, thing overall was bearish in the sense that this whole weekly trends, was bearish here and then just fell off a cliff here, right? So overall, this thing was or is bearish on the weekly time frame, but 4-hour was bullish, right? 4-hour was showing some breaks of structure, moving to the upside there. So as we came down here, let's just take this off. We're basically saying there's only 2 ways that I'm going to get on a trade. Either we break and make a new higher high, and then we have a retest, or price comes down back into our red zone, which we're comfortable taking trades in, starts to consolidate, and then it breaks structure, and then we'll take it on that first higher low. So let's see what happened. We had price come down. It did exactly what we thought it was gonna. It came up, started to consolidate. And then what happened? It never managed to break this previous lower high. It actually made another lower high. See how it tried, right? It attempted, rejected it, and then it moved down. And then at that point, pretty much just takes sells all the way because it just established itself below the red zone as well, below the weekly resistance area as well, which is obviously pretty significant. And then at this point, for this week, this thing is now lined up. And I like how this is actually correlated a bit differently than UCAD and NU. So this thing is actually lined up in line with the dollar appreciating against the British pound. So it's clearly in a downtrend on the 4-hour, not rocket science, forming these lower lows and lower highs. We just formed this new lower low. And then we have our red zone right here, perfect area to take a trade in. We could bring on the fibs if that's what we like to do. And then we've got the 70 area here, 61.8, basically just telling me this is a zone that's got a confluence, a fib level in that area. We've obviously got the red zone. If we look left, we've got some resistance. The best possible place to take the trade would be all the way up here. So getting to retest this previous support level, this would be the best possible trade. And then you can put your stops, above the previous high. You can put them a lot closer if you'd like. This is definitely the most conservative. And then you're looking to swing really to the next low. So this would be a 2.7, right? Then you have this support level right here, which would be a 3.6, and you have this. And then if we come back up to the actual weekly time frame and map out where the next level is, we could see how far this thing could go. But even if it just comes to that previous bottom and it's a 2.8 risk reward, I mean, nobody's complaining over that. But see how much room there is for this thing to push to the downside. Now, looking at the weekly, something that we do want to look at is this wick that formed on the weekly time frame. So there obviously was some rejection there, so we have to be mindful of that. So considering coming back to the 4 hour, when would I actually look to take a buy on this? So to the flip side, say this trade idea ends up being terrible, right? We take it right here and then it breaks. When would I flip my bias? Well, as soon as price breaks above this area, because we're extremely confident in this area. So once price breaks above this area, that's when we're going to be looking to actually flip our trade idea and move to the upside. We'd be looking to take a trade somewhere in here, break and retest, simple, right in this area. That would most likely work out really well. If this thing the dollar just completely tanks this week, GBP ends up in a massive buying opportunity. This would be a good trade. So if we lose 1% on this, then you can end up, making back that and more. Always got to make sure that you guys are looking at both sides, looking at both ideas. You don't get just married to one trade idea. So that's GU. Let's go over to GJ. So GJ last week, there was no trade taken on this. We were pretty much just saying either continue with this trend, if it forms some sort of higher low, but there was just nothing for us to really do on GJ. So let's just take this off. As clearly as you can see, it didn't form a higher low at this level right here. It just ended up dropping to the downside. So coming up to the weekly time frame, right? What are we looking at on GJ? We're still in a bullish trend. Despite this huge reversal right here, we're still in a bullish trend. We're going to delete this. Price has just formed these higher highs and higher lows consistently, right? So made this new high, higher low, and then we had all this shit happen where it just tested the support level, made a new high, and then now we're in the perfect area to take a buy. We're in the perfect area. We're retesting resistance. We're in a higher low area. Yeah, like coming to the 4 hour, we're at support. We're in the demand zone right now, this previous demand zone. We're testing the previous high. So this is the perfect area to actually take a buy on GJ. It's in one of those spots where even though I would love to wait for it to retest, I almost certainly wouldn't mind just getting in on it and just trying to swing trade, because we're at the red zone, we're at support, we're in the demand zone, right? There's a lot of confluences here to justify taking this trade at this time right now. So yeah, GJ, we've got obviously one or a couple events coming out on, let's see, later in this week. We got some news coming out on this one. So we'll see. I mean, as DXY pushed to the downside towards the end of last week, we kind of saw GJ correlated with that a bit. GJ is obviously very correlated with GU. So if we're looking for GU to be pushing, more to the downside, GJ could end up being correlated with that, could end up just continuing to push to the downside. I just personally, when these things all line up, and the weekly lines up as well in this kind of zone, and I'm able to put my stops below my red zone, I like to just take the trade. So that's the trade idea on GJ. We're just going to move this one up. We're going to cover NAS 100 next. So let's go up to the weekly and let's just take a look. So this thing overall has been in a downtrend, as everyone knows that's following NAS 100. As we come down to the 4-hour, we actually ended up breaking above 2 weeks ago this downtrend, and we found a higher low, and then we pushed up, and then this is where we were last week, right? I personally didn't even give an idea on this last week because there was just, to me, it wasn't clear as to where I wanted to take this trade because the trend was reversing on the 4-hour time frame. So I just left it at this, just left it open-ended. Taking all this off, it's clearly back in a downtrend. We clearly broke whatever trend was forming in the form of a higher low right here, right? We're below the red zone at this point. So now we really just need to decide, where are we going to start to swing trade this one? Where are we going to start to get into this position? We could obviously wait until price comes back up here. What I like is that we are forming a bottom right here. So we're starting to get some bullish candles form after this huge kind of sell off right here, right? We're starting to get a bullish engulfing, bunch of reversal candles. So this is really the zone to take a trade in on NAS 100. We got 38.2 right here. We got previous support turned into resistance. We've got our weekly zone right here. This is what a trade would look like. You know, we're targeting first this area, then we're targeting this area, the support level, and then you can start to look even further below there, which is obviously much further below. But this is the idea, you know, based on TA, this would be the trade, you know, for the week. Would just be looking for price to come into this zone. Any sort of rejection in this area, any sort of resistance, reversal, wick, whatever, on the 4-hour time frame, then you're looking to actually get in on this trade and ride this thing to the downside. So NAS 100, I'm going to move this one up. That one and GJ are pretty clear for the week. We've been looking at BTC on pretty much every call. We are starting to get a bit of bullish momentum on BTC. I mean, nothing too crazy, but you know, 2 weeks in a row where price has moved to the upside, so that's at least positive. You know, I personally think that we're going to see some more downside movement, and just overall, I mean, BTC is gonna be consolidating for a little while. We've gone over this a bunch of times. You know, I believe that we'll be seeing BTC just move from side to side for a long time. You know, it could be the next year, could be the next 2 years. I've got it kind of scoped out where it would be 2 years. It's all the way up to almost 3 years. So we'll see if it'll take that long. But just be wary, you know, it has more room to push down to like the 15K area. Definitely like the 12K, 15K area. That's where the next kind of support level is. So don't go too crazy on BTC, but no reason not to be dollar cost averaging and, you know, getting some orders in there for the long term. But that's pretty much it, guys. So if you want to enter the giveaway last minute, just post on your IG story that you're on the Sunday Market Blitz, tag the funded trader, tag Forex League. We'll announce the winner shortly after this call. I'll repost whoever won. I'll post on the story. Inside of the funded trader Discord, there's a bunch of giveaways going on in there already for this month. So definitely go into there and just overall be careful this week, because midterm elections, you know, things are gonna get unpredictable, you know, with the markets as the results start coming out. Definitely a huge week for news in the US at least. So just be careful, but take any of the trades that we kind of lined up, you know, with GJ, NAS 100, NZD, you gotta wait a little bit more. We need some more confirmation. USD CAD, more confirmation. GU, so wait on those. But that's pretty much it, guys. So thanks for hopping on, and
Yeah.
yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Yeah. Take care, guys. Good luck this week. Peace.
Best of luck.
Oh yeah.
Let's get it. Peace out, everybody.